Okay, after technical hiccup after technical hiccup, we're now live for our very first live show for website builders. Today, I'd like to get around to the point of taking you through Squarespace from start to finish, how we create a new account. I've got a brief that I created very, very quickly in ChatGPT, and we're going to transition that across. Also, if you've seen the 1 hour recording I created in the last week or so, you'll know that I created a fictional brand very, very quickly in Canva and a website mockup and a flyer mockup in an hour for a decal and vehicle livery company. And so we're going to take that signage, the logo, the images, and we're going to bring them across into Squarespace and show you how to build it from the ground up. Today, I'm not going to be using SquareForge, which is our rapid builder for Squarespace. Go and check that out at squareforge.net if you want to save even more time. But this is a version that you can create with a free trial on Squarespace. It's completely vanilla, meaning that you've got no additional costs or charges to roll your sleeves up and get involved with it. So hopefully the technology side of this works. It's been a bit of a challenge this morning. I did one draft test example earlier. So if you've seen that, apologies for that mess earlier. But yeah, we'll see how we get on. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you can see this now. Likewise, I'm hoping that this microphone is connected because that will just um, that will just help with that as well. So I've got our original brief here in ChatGPT, and the aim is we're going to try and take this from our website mockup we created in Canva. It's very, very simple, very basic. It's not exactly my best design work, but the main aim of this tutorial is to show you how you can bring things together relatively quickly using website builders. And today we're going to be focusing on Squarespace. I might add some more content in here to this brief. This is a completely fictional company, which give us some ideas for color palettes and what could work for their audience in that industry. Certainly not my best logo. In fact, the name and the logo seems to have disappeared there, but we've got the logo in here instead. So we're going to try and rebuild this. This section here is going to be one of the trickiest parts, simply because that is quite difficult to do in Squarespace. In fact, we can't recreate this exact shape, or I don't believe we can. I'll have a look and see if there is a possibility for that. But otherwise, we may have to take these assets here, so the shapes, bring them into a new Canva page, which is set to the new Canva file, which is set to those dimensions, and then create a transparent PNG. So we've got a white shape over top of a transparent background, and then we can overlay the text and the smaller icon into each page. So that might just take a few minutes of just tweaking to get it to work. But let's go to Squarespace now. I'm already logged into my account, so you may need to create a new account if you're just starting out, or log into your existing account. And instead of picking one of our existing websites, we're going to go to create a website. You've got the option to start with a blank canvas. You can pick a Squarespace template. You can build your own template, or as I said, an optional step is to purchase our SquareForge, and that gives you a huge number of mini kits that you can add into each page. But we're not going to focus on that today. So we're going to go with Squarespace templates. This is the option most people choose. And to get this live stream working, I have to log in and out of my accounts regularly. So we'll click design, accept that. In fact, I'm just going to skip all of that and browse templates and just see something that could work quite nicely with this layout. So we can see it's pretty simple. One large hero image. One of the strengths of Squarespace has always been the quality of the templates. You can see here they're just so clean and simple and very nice to work with. So let's go with this option here. For me, I generally start with a blank canvas, but if you're new to this, then obviously this might help. I'm just going to go with the standard color palette. We're going to create our own in just a moment. And let's start with this design. And I can see what we can do in about an hour today. Okay. The name is very cheesy. It's what ChatGPT came up with, I promise. And also it could be mistaken for a food company, but because this is fictional, we're not going to worry too much about that. I'm going to skip all of those introductory tutorials. I've seen them way too many times. And now we've got our new page. So I could start going in and editing this section, this page, but ultimately we don't have to. We can just go and create a brand new page and start from scratch. But again, if you're just starting out, think of it as training wheels just to help you along. It's nice to have something there so you're not staring at a blank page. So I'm just going to shrink this header section. And notice I'm not going with a background image. So if you've used this before, you may know that there's an option to edit section and you can add in a standalone background image. But the reason I'm not doing that is if we go to our website here, we can see that our lorry is overlapping the bottom of the header image. So we're going to add this and this as two separate assets. We're going to add this as our background image. I'm just seeing, can we create it from... Yeah, because the one thing I want to do is just be able to create it at these dimensions here. Can I just download selected image? No. Okay. So we're going to create a design. Nope, that's importing from the computer. So if you import from the computer, it will then create an image to that exact size. Just do a quick search. See if there is an option, because that will... No. Okay, so we're going to have to do this the way I usually do it, which is a little bit convoluted. So I'm going to copy this background image first. Now let's go into Canva once more. We'll create a custom size, and I'm going to go with 2000 by 800, say. It would be amazing just to be able to copy something into the clipboard and just paste it in. Okay, an error happened there. That's the beauty of live sessions. I think it's because it's logged me out again for the same streaming issues I was having earlier. There we go. We're back in now. So we can see I got it way off with my estimate for the image size. So this is where we're going to go to custom size again. And we're going to go with, if that's 800, let's go for 550 height. The reason I go for 2000, that's usually a good balance between not having the image too large, but having it high enough resolution so it looks crisp and doesn't become pixelated. Don't know why I need to click on there. Usually that just works, but we'll just press continue. And I don't want to copy and resize. That will create a new file. So I'm just going to click resize as design. And that's close enough this time. Oh, that's not too bad. So I'm just going to extend the image further down and cheat a little bit. So it's not exactly the dimensions we had on the other site, but it works closely enough. One thing we noticed, it hasn't brought across the overlay effect. So that's created with a duotone. And it just makes the lorry a little bit easier. So if we go to edit image and then go to our duotone effect here, I'm going to select sea blue, but I'm going to go for a brighter tone for the lighter colors, and then the shadows. What I can do is just bring in this shape here into our design. We're not going to actually do anything with it other than when we go back into edit our duotone settings, we should be able to color pick from that just so it matches in with it. It won't be the same, but it carries the same tone. So we've got the lighter and darker tone. One thing we can do over and above this is maybe bump up the contrast so we get a little bit crisper effect. And this is where the duotone is quite limited. It can look a little bit washed out when we only use that. So what we can do is just bring up things like the whites or even the highlights, darken the shadows so we can get a little bit more contrast in that backdrop. I'd want to play around with this a little bit more, but that's a good start. I'm going to save that as a hero background, and let's get this in place. If you know a way of being able to copy a shape or element from one Canva file and then create a new file with it based on those dimensions, let me know, because that will save me a huge amount of time and I will credit you with that find. I'm sure it must be a feature. Right, so let's upload our image. So we're treating it as a background image, but the way the Fluid Engine works in Squarespace is it works in multiple layers. Not sure why that didn't happen there. Let's try one more time. There we go. Yeah, sorry, I remember putting it as a background image. I forgot I was just demoing that earlier. So in fact, I'm going to double click on this image and replace this image here. But now I've already uploaded the file. Should be able to find it in the existing file manager within Squarespace. Okay, so that's now in place. We've got the start of our homepage. Let's press on with the next part. So I want to get the logo in place. I think to match up with this, we're going to go with a white hero section. And so instead of changing this, because when we go to create a logo in Canva, as you see in the other video I created, we default to square ratio. So instead of copying and pasting this into another file, I'm going to just go in resize, my brain's functioning, and find the custom size option. And we see it's 500 width, which is plenty what we want. And let's go to 200 height. Might have to just click off that section. Continue. I find the resize option a little bit slow in Canva. There's a load of options that we got to go through. And I just want to be able to do it much quicker each time, but minor gripe. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it's close enough for a demo site. I might just take 30 pixels off the right-hand side of this just to get it right. So this is what I mean by it being a bit convoluted. I'd just love to be able to grab the side of the artboard and just adjust it like we can on Adobe Illustrator. The reason I wanted that is because when we don't want too much spacing either side, because what will happen is on this side, it will just bring the logo in further, and we want it to sit flush to the left-hand side if we can, or at least close enough to the left-hand side so it's not noticeable. So now we're going to share and download page 3. So we're going to uncheck all pages and just the current page, otherwise it will download it in a zip file, and then I have to extract the zip file just for the one logo. But I might go with an inverted option, like this yellow option, in the footer of the website if we get that far today. So now with that in place, we can go in and edit the header. I'm going to double click on the logo section, and we can see that we can upload our own logo. I think I remember to put it as a transparent background. It's not the end of the world because this is already on a white background anyway. And we can see we can adjust the logo height. We can't adjust the width, but then the width will adjust proportionately anyway. So let's have it so it's not too large on the page, but large enough that it's clear to see. Okay, that's now in place. Press save. The fact this is grayed out is just because we're editing the header section. The moment we come back into the site, it goes back to default. And let's get our lorry in place next. So let's go to this image, and this is wider than 16 by 9. So let's see what we can do. What I'm going to do a cheat a little bit is I'm going to bring the lorry to the bottom of the image. So if there's a little bit more padding at the top, we can get away with it. Because I don't need that file again, I'm just going to cheat and use this one. Bring it up to the full width. We can see the clarity's there close enough. So this was just a photo of a lorry that we just put in. We just removed the background for it, and that seemed to work okay. But we can see here now that we need to resize this. Again, custom size. So let's double it. Let's go for 900, see what that does. In fact, this doesn't need to be anywhere near as big, so we can just reduce the image size, which will save up file size, meaning that the image will be faster loading. And not too bad at all. Get in there now. Okay, so we don't have to have this right flush to the edges because it's going to be on a transparent background. So as we share it, again, we need to download it once more as a PNG file and make sure that we've got transparent background selected. I really should be naming each image, and I'd have to go back through because it's good for accessibility and good for Google to know kind of where the website's going. It doesn't make a huge difference, but naming your files properly is a good way to go. Now I'm just adding an image block, and don't worry about the fact it's on a white background at the moment. I'm just bringing it down over the bottom of that background, or the image behind it, just as a starting point. So let's upload a file now and grab our lorry. Whilst it's loading, it will show it on a background, but once it's uploaded, it should just show it transparent. Okay, so that's floating in the middle at the moment. So one of the things we can do is align it to the bottom. And that basically means now that we've got that lorry cutting out over the header section. But the one thing I want to do is bring up this sky closer to the top. If we look at our existing example, we've got it more flush there. That menu's way too big. Just looks a little bit amateur hour there, but we can fix that. But let's say we want to get rid of that gap. So if we go to edit section once more, and it's this fill screen option. The moment we remove that, it takes it edge to edge. And we can see that there's text here already. So we can reuse this text block in our header. And we're going to resort this section out below now. So this text will default to black because we're on a white background. It's locked up there, so I'm just going to press save, and it's good just to save every now and again as well. Yeah. Because the section is on a white background, that's why the text defaults to a dark color. So what we can do instead is, if we look at our, if I get to the right one, here we go. We can see that this is on the dark blue, navy blue setting. And then we've got a clean divide then before the next section kicks in. So what we can do here, because we want that overlap effect, we can make the whole of that first section on a darker background. But first of all, I need to grab the hexadecimal values for that color and then start to build our styles section. So I think that's a good place to do that before starting to work on anything else, because the moment we change this color pack to a darker color, just show you a quick demo now, we can see it's changed the text color. So instead of having to do that multiple times, and the fact that this is on a black background now is easy to fix. We'll do that in just a moment. But let's go exit that, go into the style settings. Customize the colors. And now we're going to add in our own colors. So I'm going to put that in as the darkest color. I might need to. Let's have a look at what other colors we've got in our brand. So let's have a look at this. We've got the yellow, and I'm going to make this my middle color. What we're trying to do in Squarespace is go from light on the left to the darkest on the right. So this is going to be white. Which is FFF. Alternatively, we can just drag that circle all the way up to the top left-hand corner. And I think I'm going to go for like a light silver color for our other color in there as well. We've got the yellow, we've got the navy, we've got the white. So we've got our three core colors. But I think I'm going to go darker than this again for our darkest color. So I'm going to using the Chrome extension this time because I find it a little bit quicker. That's ColorZilla. You can just download that on Chrome using if you search for ColorZilla Chrome extension, it'll give you all the setup you need for it. Such a handy tool to be able to just color pick as we go. And this time I'm going to, again, paste that in. Oop, don't think it copied it. So let's just copy this one across as well. And this time I'm just going to manually make it darker. It's not going to be black, but it'll be, again, same on the navy tone, just darker, which could work really nicely as a footer background color. And I'm just going to go manually, just a light silver with a hint of the blue in there, off-white, and then we can use that as a color. We could manage without that one entirely, but it's nice to have that option in place. So that's the color palette, matching now our brand. We've got two different tone options here. It's not very noticeably different here, but the moment we bring that into our page for a full background, like this section here, it's noticeable. And I'll just demo that in a second. So if we edit this section, and the moment we change it to the darkest color modes, you can see just how different that is between the two options. So by going from lightest top left to darkest bottom right, we can see that the color packs follow the same routine, and we almost always get the right contrast. So now we've got the yellow as our impact color. We should just be able to highlight this text, and now we just pick it from the palette instead of having to go in and add in a custom or memorize a custom hexadecimal value each time. What I can do with this section here is, it's not really a heading, it's more of a caption. So for best practice, we don't really want to be putting that in as a heading. So let's edit this section here, and we can fit the content to frame, which is a relatively new feature in Squarespace. especially since Fluid Engine, which I really like. So now we can adjust the width of that container 1/24th of the page at a time. So it's a 24 column grid Squarespace is built on. So it gives us a lot of flexibility, but still maintains control. Then I can just place the image and as another transparent PNG here, and that should work just fine. One thing I need to do now is fix this header. So I'm going to save that, jump back out again, back in and edit. And in this header section, then let's edit design, go to color, and instead of adaptive, we're going to go with solid color. And we can either go with color or we can go with theme, and we'll go with lightest one. Save that. As we add new pages to the website, they will appear in this menu system here. Okay, it's starting to get there. It's taking longer simply because we've got the files in Canva and I'm having to create them each time. So let's, again, use this as a cheat, as a starting point. So, and let's now, so I could put these as one image, but that's really messy and it doesn't break down well to mobile. So what I'm going to do is put them in as individual images. So the ratio is going to have to change. And what I'm going to have to do first is ungroup. Now, if I was doing this from scratch for a client where these seem to be part of one graphic by the looks of it. So that could cause problems. No, we'll get away with it. So I'm just double clicking and cropping it. So we just get one of these. So it's going to break this layout design. But I'm just going to drop them in just so we can and send it to the back or send it behind. Just so we can see those other layers so we can grab them. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the right thing and make sure this is selectable text over them. But I'm going to cheat a little bit and I'm going to go with our icons being part of the image. So instead of saving one image and then repeating that 4 times and then having separate images for each of the icons, which is the way I would do it if I had more time and was doing this, to say, the proper way, but this will be fine. So I'm getting them right to the edge and then I'm selecting all of them and then I can use the cursor keys just to move them into roughly the same location. I think there's a little bit more padding to the right of these. There we go. That's close enough. So now what I can do is select these two, group these, then these two, and then these, and finally these. Once I've got one of them in place, what I'm going to do now is actually change our canvas color so we can actually see what we're doing. So it doesn't matter what color we choose. And we can see this is more 4 by 3. So if we go with, say, 400 by 300 and see how that works. Yeah, that's really not bad. I think we'll wing it and go with that. Yeah, interesting. Saying centrally aligned, I can see the bounding box actually goes out a little bit to the right of the shape. That's fine. We'll get away with that. So now we can actually get rid of our background image. If I can remember how to do it. Yeah, I'd select it and just press the backspace or delete option to get rid of it. So now we just have to trust the process. So I'm actually going to delete that now just so we can get them all positioned the same. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it. So position it at the top left, make it full width. Now move it down into position, and we need to do this with all 4 images so that there's consistency. Same again, snap it to the edge, bring it down until we see the snap option there. Add the other 2 pages ready. I put that in the wrong position. Yes, I did. So I'm going to cut that from that page, drop it into that one. It should be in the right position then. Try that again. There we go. So we've got our 4 blocks. Again, on Illustrator, it'd have been half the time putting all that together, but Canva is far less expensive. So if you're starting out, Canva can do just about everything you need to get up and running. I'm also want to do some work with Affinity Suite. So Affinity have lower cost single purchase equivalents to Photoshop and Illustrator as well. It's on my to-do list to create a series of courses for that software because it's great. And actually, coincidentally, Canva have recently bought them out. So we could be starting to see Canva moving into more advanced software or more affinity, pun intended, between the 2 platforms. But more on that in a bit. So let's download these images. Again, I really should name them. We're going to make sure the transparent background, and we're going to download all pages this time. So they'll be in a zip file. If I click on it here, we should be on a Mac, be able to extract those files. So now we get back into Squarespace, and what you can do now is go into assets here and upload all images together. So again, we see 1, 2, 3, 4. Ideally, you'd want to name them something that's more memorable. Okay, those are in place. The reason these are showing bigger is just because of the width of these 2 images, the way the masonry style lays them out. It doesn't have any resemblance to what we're doing on the other end. Right, so we've got the paper plane first. So let's jump back in here. I can get rid of that account dashboard option now, so we've got fewer tabs open as well. Let's go back into our pages and edit once more. Jump across to see how the layout, so they can see them off to the right. We're going to put heading in on the left. So let's get these in place. Now we're going to add our image. And we're going to add our 4 image blocks in position first. So I'm going to create the first one, duplicate it, duplicate. And as we can see, we're probably going to need to reduce the width of these as well. Don't know why I was going to add a new image from there. Just as well duplicate that one again. As I said, brain's not functioning. Okay, so either we could say we'll go with that, but it doesn't leave us a huge amount of space. You can see the grid here on the left for the title, although this lorry can certainly come across a little bit. We'll just try and reduce them all one size, see how that works. Not sure if that's the setting. Yeah. So that's kind of the next size down we can go with it all the same size. And with equal space in between them. I think we'll go with that. See how that looks. So now I can double click on each image. I could upload, sorry, the double click is to upload. I'm going to select from the library and go with image 1 first. Yeah, that's working quite nicely. I think it's that one. And finally, the last one. Okay, so the one thing we can see here, there's quite a big gap between each of the images. So we could, they're all aligned to the center at the moment, so we can align them to the right, but that's just going to keep shifting the gaps across anyway. The other option is we could try moving the right ones to the left. But as we can see, that doesn't work because it creates a gap there. So I think they all need to be the same. So if we want to make them more compact and closer together, we can either change the ratio of these shapes, which won't work very well, or we can adjust the gaps in the section between each block. So if we go to edit section, we can see the gaps here. So we can, say for example, I want to keep the vertical gaps, but get those closer together. I can do that. And that's about as good as I can get, but I'm relatively happy with that. That's fine. As we can see, this is a different section, so we can see that dividing line there between them. And now we can move our text block up into position, and we're going to change that to a heading. Just going to see, did I put any additional content in this section? No, it's just that heading. I'm being extra lazy, so I'm just going to go in and copy that text. Save me having to type. And I'll just put that onto one line to start with. This time we're going to go with a heading 1. The font's different, but you get the gist. We could go and edit this to make it all caps. See how that looks. And we could go with the option fit to frame as well. Hold down italic. One thing I haven't done is gone through and adjusted the font style, but for just that simple kind of impact header, it's fine. I'm not over enamored with this font for this particular application, but that's just probably me being fussy. One thing we can see here that these frames are elongated, so we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping here just to tidy them up. Otherwise, they could interfere with, say, the height of the section, stopping us from shrinking it. And let's bring that up so we've got some nice spacing below, but not too much. And we'll bring these so they align with the top of that title, or near enough. Okay, so that's got us almost up to where we have on the other side. Just going to do a quick check on time, see how we're doing. Yeah, there's no way of actually seeing how long I've been on this call. I need to check out that for the next section. There almost certainly is a way of checking that. I've just been many years since I've used Zoom. I think we're probably about 40 minutes in now. So we'll do another 20 just to get this polished up. So saved it. Jump back. Sometimes you just got to exit back in so you can see the add block option again. Going to add another text block. This time I'm going to go with a small font size, maybe a paragraph 3. And I've got to bring in so I'm just going to bring these down so we can see the text again. Copy this. And I'm going to, because we've got it on a dark background now for the section, I will need to adjust that text. If I hold Shift and Enter, it will just drop that to a new line. I could try it on paragraph 3, and I think that works well. Line up to the center there. And this is where we're going to have the most fun in games, is getting this text to work on this section here. However, if potentially we set a background, we can choose padding. And then if we make the background transparent, it should work. These custom. I don't know why it wouldn't do it on the default ones, probably because they weren't transparent. So there we go, to custom there. And now we can use the left and right and increase the spacing left and right to bring that in. We can, of course, play around with the setting, fine-tune it even more, but or you could even do this, which you really shouldn't be doing, that's a bit naughty, is just to indent those a little bit as well. But the benefit of this means that this text is selectable, so Google will find it, and it's good for accessibility as well. Now with that selected, let's go for only 1 or 2 words, or 2 L's. Yeah, it is 1 L. So again, because I put it in italics, you can put the second line to start back more to the left, or you can go with that option there. I think I prefer that. Okay. Just because the shape of the T, it looks like that's coming in. That's just the letter format. And finally, let's copy this across. Okay, so we've got 3 more titles here. We just need to adjust the final 2. Brain's really not working today, so bear with me. Okay, so you can see that there was some formatting to do there, so I'll just as well put this in as was it service or finish? I can't remember. Finish. Quick shortcut, Command B on a Mac and Command I on a Mac will work for bold and italic. If you're on a PC, Control will do the same, so Control and B, Control and I, just quick ways of adding in those effects. But still not happy with how that looks, but overall, that's how we can do intricate layouts that look fully bespoke and don't look like Squarespace sites. Not my best work by any means, but that's how we can get that to click together relatively nicely. One thing we haven't done yet is looked on mobile, and it's going to be an absolute mess. So let's jump back. We're going to do the arrow now. We're going to then do a quick section below to get it up to where we had it on Canva. And because of the intricacy of this has taken longer than most Squarespace sites that I build. I just wanted to demo how we can do more advanced things without it being overly complicated. Things like how we can use the background and then make it transparent on the text. to fine tune the position of it without any custom code. Let's go back to this, copy this arrow. And this time I'm going to really cheat. I shouldn't do this, but instead of resizing it, I'm just going to put this on a transparent background. And if there's extra padding left and right, that's fine. We'll get away with it. So this one, I'm going to download it, make sure the transparent background is selected. And instead of downloading all four, we're just going to select the first one, download it. Now, again, we go back into edit on our Squarespace site, add a new image block. I'm not going to worry about the dimensions yet. We'll tweak it once we've uploaded our image. And because we're just uploading one, I just clicked upload. And again, that should be on a transparent background. Okay. So this was almost impossible before Fluid Engine, but since Fluid Engine, it's just made everything that much easier. What I'd love to do here is get into Photoshop and actually do an example wrap and use the distort option to get it to fit perfectly on the side of that lorry. So we can almost have, we could even do a before and after shot, etc. But because this is more of a tech demo to show what you can do in Squarespace, we're not going to worry about that. Just to give that a bit more breathing space, I might drop that too so it's centrally aligned. And we did have, I'm not going to worry too much about that. We did have an example here. In Canva, we can't use a distort tool to get something to fit to that shape. So I just use the circle shape. And I think this is what we'll do in Squarespace. We'll just drop a circle in there at the moment. Add a new block, add a shape. We edit the shape. We should be able to change the color to our deep blue. And let's go for, oh, we can go for this. You see the stretch is on. We want that without the stretch option. And then just move that in position. And then we can move backwards. So shift and the down cursor, or we can just use that button there to move it behind. It does the same type of effect. It doesn't look amazing, but as I said, a bit of photoshopping and we get that looking a lot sharper. Okay, let's tidy up this section below. In fact, what I'm going to do is just remove that section, remove this really small section here, and this one here. And we're going to choose a pre-existing template or even build it from scratch. And there's a lot of content on here that we don't need. This is why I tend to like to start with a blank page, although every site we build now is based on our SquareForge platform, just because it makes most of this much, much easier and quicker. Let's add a blank section. And we're going to go back to Canva. And we're just going to copy that text. I'm going to add the heading in separately because it gives us a little bit more control over the positioning of everything. So this will be, we'll go with paragraph 1 for that to introduce that paragraph section. And I'm not going to download this image. I'm just going to find a stock image on Unsplash, which is built into Squarespace to create that effect. And I'll show you how to put it in a circular frame as well. So let's add a text block, drop that in. And we're going to go for heading 2. And we're going to go with that type of heading effect. So a bolder, more impactful heading effect. So this is where we're going to take a bit of license. We can see the difference between that and that feels a little bit more kind of getting to the point. That should be over to the left. So we've got a perfect alignment. Bear in mind, we're on a MacBook screen here. So if we were to bring that one over, we need to have a nice visual consistency down the left-hand side. There's nothing wrong with that approach. And I think that's what I'll go for. On larger screens, we'll have more space either side, or larger wide or ultra wide monitors, for example. Let's add our image block. And we're going to browse stock images this time. I'm just going to go for that. And this time, go to edit it like we did with the shape. We're going to go to design and go to a circular shape. And now if we just bring it so it's a little bit larger, make better use of the width on the page, we can have a simple shape option. I don't know if that's gone a little bit out of shape. Notice a little bug sometimes when we resize something, it just loses its shape a little bit. It could just be my mind playing tricks on me, and because of this kind of shape here is almost like oval in terms of the reflection, maybe that's just tricking my mind a little bit. Okay, so we've got some really nice white space there. I'd probably just increase the line height here a little bit, and let's just do that to wrap up, because we're going to leave it there. I'm just going to delete this. I'll leave these same details in, make this a smaller footer. I may well revisit this, spend a bit more time with it, and end up creating a template off the back of it. And so a pre-built template which will have these shapes all ready to go, so you can obviously put your own icons in them, change the colors, etc., using your own Canva file. But for now, this is what I want. So I'm just going to move the picture of me out of the way and get rid of the toolbar option in the bottom corner. Yeah, not my best work, as I said, but it looks okay. Interesting to see what you think. What would you do to sharpen this up, improve it a little bit? One thing we can do as well, just a nice little touch, is highlight the text, and then we can put an underline. We don't have to go with just the basic one. We can put a circle around it. Although I quite like some of the ones that look like they're hand drawn, so maybe that one there. In the yellow, it's not too strong, doesn't get in the way, but it just highlights the word that we want to get across. And now that's taking shape. So finally, let's hop over to mobile view and tidy this up. So I'm going to click on edit. We're going to get that sky again right up to the top. So we need to consider how we're going to adjust this from portrait to landscape. So I'm just going to again have it overlapping the bottom, but this time we need more space above it. So again, I'm going to do the same shape here. One thing we can't do is rotate this arrow, so we have to find a happy medium. Because this is fitting to the width of the frame, it means we've got a little bit more control over how that looks. We need to bring it out to the front. Let's it's a bit small. If I create a line break here, it will adjust the heading style as well, which is something I definitely don't want to do. So it's a case of maybe just reducing this arrow size, in fact. Yeah, there we go. That's about as small as we can get away with it and still have our main heading style in place. So here, we're going to bring that heading into our hero section. Now it's a case of bringing up these buttons here, and I think I'm going to bring it in a couple of blocks in and then move it to the middle so that they're bolder than they are obviously on desktop view, but they're not too large on the page so they look jarring. Because the text color is the same as the backdrop, we're not really seeing it very easy here. So we can just, again, move these in place. And I think I'm going to move it in one more again. One thing I'd probably do for this complexity of site is I would use a little bit of custom code maybe to fine tune this. Maybe looking at this section here and doing something more with a bit of custom code on mobile only. We can do that using media queries, where you can target just mobile sizes. Let's bring these text blocks up and we can just make this a little bit more compact so I don't have so much scrolling to do. Okay, what's happening here? Ah, yeah, this frame here is just needs to be reduced so it matches the others. And I think I quite like the fact that they're more compact and closer together. So there's a bit of a trade-off with Squarespace in what they've done with since Fluid Engine with the mobile views of their sites. Beforehand, it used to be really constrained, but it would be much quicker to edit sites in mobile view. Now it's less constrained, but at the same time, it takes a lot longer to build them. This section is more straightforward, so it's going to be quicker to put together. Just reducing those frames so we don't have overlaps and it's easier to select things. Again, that image, we could probably make that bigger within that frame. And this should only affect the mobile view. So only when you manipulate the text directly will it be the same on desktop and mobile. So for example, if I was to put another paragraph break in there, that would reflect on the desktop as well. I'm not overly happy with these still. So I think what I'm going to do is see what it looks like if I go 2 and 2. Less horizontal scrolling. It may work, it may not. Let's see. Yeah, that's really not bad at all. Much, much better. So it's well worth just having to play around to see what you can do. There's a little bit of jiggery pokery to do. And finally, our last one. This is where we can adjust the line height, because if you remember, we got rid of the grid blocks horizontally, the spacing, but we didn't vertically. So that's something I think we can do on desktop view without losing anything, but it will make the mobile view look that little bit more neat and tidy. So let's jump back to desktop. go into edit section. And instead of going in and edit the sections individually, we can just get rid of the gaps completely. So it might make this more compact, and we can manually just add more grid blocks to make that work. Let's bring this down and adjust that on desktop. We jump back to mobile. Okay, so that's the thing we need to do is just adjust that, the heights of them. Yeah, we're not actually gaining anything by doing this. Worth a go though. I think with a bit more tweaking, I could probably get this to work as I've got it in my head. But I think that's a good time now to wrap this up. As I said at the start, this is a longer job to put this together than it would be for a more conventional layout. Things like the overlapping effects, these out of shape blocks here, getting the text to fit, all of this takes time and a little bit of work. We can see these come out now and are out of position here. So we'd probably have to go through and adjust them accordingly as well. But I'm going to leave it there. Hope you found this helpful. If you want loads of tutorials like this in future, in fact, this live session is specifically for our new community on SKOOL. It's well worth heading over to that. There's a link in the description. And if you come from SKOOL, stick around because I'm hoping to run these live sessions. It probably won't be as long as this one, looking around 30 minutes per session, at least once every 2 weeks. And if we can do it, once a week. So check back in and I promise I'll get better at the setting up and more efficient with the technology side of it as well. It's been a few years since I've been on Zoom. So hope you've enjoyed. I'd love to hear what you think. How would you adjust these layouts? Is there something that you'd like me to tackle as a topic in future as well?